The lights, the crowd, the hype. Fight night is a spectacle unlike any other. The fighters step into the ring, adrenaline pumping, ready to prove who's the best, to claim that belt, and to etch their name in history. But here's the shocking truth that no one talks about. They're not fighting for the belts. They're fighting for something much bigger, and it has nothing to do with honor or glory. It's about the shareholders. You've heard the stories of legendary fighters, the greats who've risen to the top and fought for the ultimate prize. But let's take a step back. What happens behind the scenes? Who's pulling the strings? The fighters, their teams, the trainers, they all know the truth. The real game is played in boardrooms, not gyms. The belts? They're just a symbol. The money, the power, the real stakes, those come from the corporate giants who control the sport, the promoters, and the TV deals. The moment a fighter signs a contract, their name is no longer just about their legacy. It's about the bottom line. These fighters who once dreamed of becoming the world champions are now corporate assets, locked into deals that make their careers less about competition and more about how much money they can generate for the promoters, networks, and shareholders behind the scenes. The fight for the belt has become a fight for profit. Think about it. Every time a fighter steps into the ring, they're not just fighting an opponent. They're fighting for the viewers, the sponsors, the pay-per-view buys. These aren't just numbers. They're the dollars that keep the machine running. The more eyeballs they can attract, the more tickets they sell, the more merchandise they move, the more value they bring to the company that signed them. They're not just athletes. They're living, breathing brand ambassadors in a sport where success is measured not by the belt around their waist, but by the balance sheets of the people who own the sport. This shift isn't new. Over the past few decades, combat sports have evolved from raw, gritty battles for personal glory to multi-million-dollar global businesses. And as the money poured in, the game changed. Now, fighters are pawns in a larger chess match, where the true champions are the executives, the sponsors, and the investors who reap the rewards of every jab, every knockout, and every story spun around the next big fight. The belt? It's just a marketing tool, a shiny piece of metal that gets you headlines and keeps the fans on the edge of their seats. The real fight is fought behind closed doors. The real competition is for the dollars, for the TV deals, for the sponsorships. That's the true prize, and it's one that has nothing to do with fists and everything to do with finances. We've all seen the headlines, the knockout punches, the stunning comebacks, the trash talk, the rivalry. It's all part of the spectacle, the drama that hooks us, the fans, and makes us tune in every single time. But here's where the curtain pulls back. Behind all that flash, there's something far more calculated happening. The fighters, they're not just athletes anymore, they're brands. Every punch, every win, every loss, it's all part of a much larger game. And that game isn't about winning belts. It's about winning attention. When you sign a deal with a major promotion, it's not just about fighting. It's about creating a product that can be marketed, sold, and turned into millions. The UFC, boxing promotions, and other fighting organizations are no longer just about crowning the best fighter. They're about building the most marketable fighter. Think about it. Fighters aren't just promoted for their fighting skills. They're promoted for their personality, their social media presence, and how well they can sell themselves. A fighter like Conor McGregor isn't just a champion in the ring. He's a brand, a walking, talking marketing machine that transcends sports. And every time he steps into that octagon, he's fighting for more than just the title. He's fighting to keep that brand strong, to keep it lucrative, to keep it relevant. The UFC, for instance, has turned fighters into entertainers first, athletes second. The company is built on big personalities and even bigger paydays. Fighters are encouraged to build their character, to play a part, to create rivalries and storylines that get people talking. It's no longer just about who's the better fighter. It's about who can get the most eyes on the screen, who can get the most clicks, who can generate the most hype. And if you can't sell tickets, generate buzz, and keep those pay-per-view buys skyrocketing, you're disposable. The belts? Those are secondary. The real gold comes from the money you bring in for the brand. This shift has changed the entire landscape of combat sports. What once was a sport about grit and glory is now a business where fighters have to walk a fine line between being an athlete and being an entertainer. Fighters like McGregor, Ronda Rousey,
white trunks for Carmouche, black trunks for Rousey, looking to close the distance early.
Angles, he circles, he can fight going forwards, he can fight going backwards. Look at that uppercut. Now, Marcus.
And Khabib Nurmagomedov.
Tavares tries to get a combination going, unable to find his range there. And Nurmagomedov floors him.
There's that shot. It was a leaping uppercut, it looked like, with that lead hand.
Didn't just dominate their respective divisions, they made themselves household names. They became part of the cultural zeitgeist. And that wasn't just by winning fights. It was by creating stories, by being the product that people could buy into. The fans didn't just want to see them fight, they wanted to see the spectacle, the drama, the journey. And that's exactly what the promoters are selling. But this comes with a cost. The pressure on fighters to constantly sell themselves to keep their brand relevant. Fighters are constantly told they need to be more than just athletes. They need to be businesses. And when that pressure to perform on a global stage gets too much, when the stress of creating a persona and maintaining that persona becomes overwhelming, that's when the cracks start to show. Fighters, often at their peak, can find themselves not just in physical battles with opponents, but mental and emotional battles with the brand they've built. It's no longer about what's best for the fighter, it's about what's best for the shareholders. The fight for the belt may still exist in the ring, but the fight for the future of a fighter's career exists behind closed doors where millions of dollars are on the line. These fighters might step into the ring to win the title, but they also step into it to win the hearts, minds, and wallets of the paying public. The prize? It's not just the belt, it's the empire they can build around their name, a personal brand that will keep them earning long after they retire from the sport. As we watch fighters step into the ring, we can't ignore the fact that what we're really seeing isn't just a physical battle, it's a transaction. A transaction that involves not just the fighter's body, but their soul. The pressure to perform, to entertain, to sell tickets. It's a burden that weighs heavily on these athletes. They are no longer just fighters, they are commodities, products to be marketed and sold to the highest bidder. And when the fight is no longer just about winning titles, but about winning over shareholders, the consequences can be devastating. First, let's talk about the mental toll this takes. Fighters who once entered the ring with the sole goal of proving their skill and becoming the best in the world are now dealing with the constant pressure to maintain their public image. Every tweet, every interview, every move they make is scrutinized. They are told to be larger than life, to keep their name in the headlines. And with that comes a constant fear. What if they can't keep it up? What happens when the public gets bored? When they're no longer seen as a marketable asset, but just another fighter past their prime? This isn't just speculation, it's a reality that many fighters face. Legends of the sport have gone from being the center of the action to being discarded when they can no longer draw in the crowds. The business has no room for aging warriors who are no longer good for business. The moment their value dips, they're replaced. And that's not just emotionally crushing, it's financially disastrous. Fighters who gave their all to the sport end up with nothing, no long-term career after the fight. Because the shareholders don't care about their legacy, they care about their bottom line. The truth is, this system doesn't just exploit fighters, it diminishes them. Instead of being celebrated as athletes who earned their place through years of sacrifice and skill, they are reduced to characters in a carefully crafted storyline. Their value isn't determined by their skill in the ring, but by how many social media followers they have, how much merchandise they sell, and how many eyeballs they can attract to the next pay-per-view event. The real champions aren't the ones with the belts around their waist. They're the ones with the most sponsorships, the biggest media deals, and the most marketable personas. And this corporate-driven approach has created a culture of disposability. Fighters are built up, marketed, and then tossed aside when their value fades. Fighters who have spent their lives perfecting their craft, fighting in the trenches for the love of the sport, are reduced to nothing more than numbers on a balance sheet. The belts they fight for? They're just part of the show. They might look shiny, they might be the ultimate symbol of a fighter's career, but when the cameras are off, the boardrooms are where the real fights are happening. This shift from fighting for glory to fighting for profit has changed the sport, for better or for worse. Fighters are caught in a system that values them only as long as they bring in the cash. The world watches as they battle in the ring, but behind the scenes, it's a different kind of battle. One where the fight for the belt is just a distraction from the true power struggle going on behind closed doors. The sport is no longer just about fighting for a title. It's about fighting for your worth, for your brand, for your place in an industry that doesn't care about you once your value is gone. Do you think it's time for a change in how we view fighters? Should they be seen as athletes first, or are they just products in a business? Share your thoughts in the comments, and let's discuss whether the fight for glory has been lost to the fight for profit.